This is WBCQ, bringing World's Last Chance Radio to you from Monticello, Maine, USA. Violent crime, political unrest, financial instability. Everything points to an impending crisis, a crisis like no other. Tune in to World's Last Chance Radio to learn how you can spiritually prepare for what lies ahead. WLC Radio, preparing a people for the Saviour's imminent return.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Flat Earth Podcast. I'm your co-host for now, Matt Long, and with me as always is Dave from Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Dave, we're back for a quick one. A lot of stuff going on, so we thought we better just hop on and do a show real quick. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Did not do an audio test, so who knows what's going to happen, but we'll just hope for the best.
I'll tell you, I am not. I'm mobile right now, so audio quality will not be the greatest. I won't sound as rich and Jewy as Dave.
Matt, you're on the Bible side of the fence here, and I actually think because I'm so particular about audio quality that God is testing me here. What is going on? Why is he doing this to me? Is this your God? Is this your God?
There's only one, so yes, it's mine.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Did I just say, "Oh my God"? Oh, your God!
It's all of our God.
Welcome to another episode. Here we are.
Nice. So let's pretend like we didn't just talk for the last 10 minutes. So like we just got here, and okay. I want to talk about a great video that just came up from. Well, first of all, this man has the greatest name in the history of YouTube names. It is Flat Earth, Banjo, USA, Japan, Brazil.
There's some commas and dashes in there, too, I think. This guy, he's educated. I think he's a PhD in something or an engineer, whatever. He's got good credentials, and he breaks down all of these emergency landing flights. And he recently got into it with a troll, and he was attacking him, who's a pilot, who claims to be a pilot, and he was tracking flights from Australia to Texas and Mexico, and proving that none of them fly north or south. I'm so backwards. None of them fly south of Hawaii, I believe. I'm a little dyslexic. If I got that backwards, doesn't matter. But I'll link
You also have the brain damage that you're dealing with.
That is true. The King de Ka.
The King de Ka.
The King de Ka. Basically, he shows that how Google lies about the distance between these locations, how none of the flights go on that side of Hawaii. And I think it actually is the perfect one for our seizures for science. We can time one of those flights and give somebody a seizure and make them land not in Hawaii but in Alaska.
And how are you doing?
Back to Flat Earth Banjo Japan. Great video. I think, it'll be, depending on when this comes out, it'll be on the app or it'll be in the archives of the app. It'll also be linked in the description. It's I think it's about 20 minutes of video. But if you watch it, focus, pay attention, don't multitask, you will see that this is what I call a top 10 Flat Earth proof.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had spent some time in Japan a couple summers ago, and I was bummed to find this guy after I went to Japan, because if I remember right, he's in Nagoya and I was in Tokyo, which are pretty close, and they're way closer than Texas or Canada to Japan. So I had my chance. I missed it. But I will tell you, when I flew to Japan, I also went over Alaska on my way, and that's a straight line on the Flat Earth map. But moving on to the fact that
it makes no sense to go over Alaska, and that is it. No flights fly south of Hawaii from Australia when they should on a globe, but they don't because the Earth is flat. Period.
Yeah, because if you were on the globe, you could make that what do they call the circle navigation. I forget the name of it. You should be able to do that both ways.
Yeah.
It should work both ways, but apparently it doesn't. So there's no good seg.
Do you know why the flight paths are the way they are?
Why is that?
Because the Earth is flat. He says that in the video like 5 times. It's
nice.
It's so good. I've watched it twice, and I think I'll watch it again as I doze off to sleep tonight.
Well, I'm going to have to check it out. What I was going to say, there's no good segue for this next one, but let's talk about the fact that NASA controls all information about space. I made a video about this just the other day. I was actually writing it to pastors on my Woketown channel. So if you go to woke.town, it'll take you right to that. It's the last video I put up. But NASA essentially controls every bit of information that we get, not on the Earth's surface. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so there's press releases every day. New planets found, water found, mushrooms found, whatever they're doing. They are the ones that are doing all of the press releases.
So let me ask you this. If NASA controls all that, how come the Vatican owns more observatories and telescopes than all the universities and NASA combined?
They have the biggest ones. They have the most. They have the Lucifer telescope.
The Lucifer one is their biggest one.
And when is the last time they released anything about what they're doing with these telescopes? I would say never.
I would say never.
Yeah, well, nothing. I mean, maybe never is a lot, but maybe I don't remember them ever.
Or little.
Yeah, very little. So that strikes a question. What are they doing with these giant telescopes? What are they finding? Again, it's very telling. Very telling.
Or what are they communicating?
Right. You know what I just listened to as of this date of, what's today? The 5th of April, 2019, is the latest Veritas radio is about the Jesuits and how they're controlling and destroying the world. And it gets into how they're hiding the truth about what's really going on in this world. And it's a great interview. So anybody wants to dig into that, when people bring up the Jesuits, I really don't want to study the Jesuits. I'm not interested. But now I am fascinated. This one has sparked my interest, and now I'm digging in even deeper.
Nice. I can't wait. That's all we need is another rabbit hole.
Yeah. I keep falling down those rabbit holes. There's no bottom to the rabbit hole, and that's a fact.
That is a fact, and there's plenty of turns.
All right, so listen, we are going to get, I don't even know the guy's name, Craig. We're going to call him Craig because his name's Craig. Just for preservation purposes, I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to start recording again just in case it gets screwed up, and we have to cut this part out. So hold on.
I think you should keep it in.
Oh, I'm going to keep it all in, but I just want to make sure when we get him on, we don't blow everything that we just did.
Just so the listeners know how the logistics of the recording works. Dave explained it.
You know what? I'm done editing. Everything's going out raw now.
I don't think you should edit. That's what I'm saying. We could get more of this out if there's not the burden of editing.
All right. Okay, here we go.
Tell Dave.
Stop talking. All right, Craig, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Craig, you're on with myself and Matt.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
All right. So you weren't listening because we weren't live, but basically you left me a message on our Facebook page. You said you had an interesting take. I think you're a Glober, but I'm not even 100% sure.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you're a Glober, and that's all I really know, that you wanted to ask us some questions, and you were going to answer them from a different point of view.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm just a normal guy who likes to listen to, whatever's out there, any crazy ideas that might be out there, and so I listen to things like the spinning globe, whatever you might think. And I have listened to a number of flat earther podcasts, and just generally, I'm an educator, so I'm always out there looking for things that I can present to my students and say, okay, let's analyze this, whether it be a valid or invalid argument. And so one of the exercises that I wanted to try to do with you guys, because I've actually never spoken face to face or online in person to a flat earther, and so I thought that maybe
let me interrupt. can you tell us what age group you teach? Not even what grade, or maybe what grade.
Sure.
What age?
Yeah,
group?
it's K-12.
K through 12. So you teach all different ages in there.
Yeah. So I'm an educator and an administrator. So
I want to correct something you said. You said you've never talked face to face with a flat earther. Yes, you have. and you're going to be outnumbered by big time very soon. So there are flat earthers in your school. And
guys.
All right. Go ahead,
right.
continue.
So like I said, I want to actually approach this from the premise of like I don't know anything about round Earth, flat Earth. I have like no biased knowledge of the geometry of the Earth.
You were born today with nothing. You were born today. You know nothing about the Earth.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
So
fascinating.
One of the big things that I wanted to ask is like, what are the basic premises that I should adopt if I'm going to investigate the world around me that would lead me to the conclusion as I like start making observations and things like that the Earth is flat.
All right,
what basic premises do I have to adopt?
Well, I'm just going to ask you. So get up out of your house, go outside, and look. Do you feel like you're spinning?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say definite observation, things that you can touch and feel, and the conclusions that you would come to on your own without outside influences, at least at first.
So only trust my observations.
Scientism tells us that the Earth is so big that we can't tell that it's curved because we're so small it looks flat, like an ant on a beach ball.
Now remember, I don't know anything about like round, flat, anything else. I'm just trying to get like give me the premise I need to adopt. So you were saying observe earlier, right? Like what should I do with observations is like the premise. So a premise would be like I should only trust my observations, or I should trust my observations and what else?
Yeah, I like the premise of observation.
Okay, so observe. Great. What's the next premise that I need to adopt?
So everything we observe, all of our senses tell us that we're stationary and we're not moving. The tiniest vibration in the ground, you can feel it, and it's disturbing. But we're told that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting 66,000 miles per hour, rocketing 500,000 miles per hour, and moving 2.2 million miles an hour in a fourth direction. But everything always remains the same. So over the years, you're going to look up at the stars at the same time every night for 20 years, and you're going to notice that the stars are in the exact same place every night on that specific date. They reset every year to the exact same place. So what would that tell you from an observational point of view?
Well, I don't have any premises to like what to do with observations. So, you guys automatically like reduce to like what like you juxtaposed it with flat or round Earth like ideas, right? But you didn't tell me like what should I do with my observations? Like what is the process I need to go through in order to reach conclusions through my observations?
So let's make it a little simpler. You're in a house that doesn't have any windows, and you're only allowed to walk out the front door for 1 minute every day. Okay, and when you walk outside for that 1 minute, there's a tree in front of you. And then you go back in the house and you have to wait till the next day, and the tree is there every day. Would you make the conclusion that tree is not moving in relationship to your house? Or would you think it's moving?
Sure, it's not moving.
Okay, so now the tree is no longer there, and you're allowed to leave the house at midnight, but only on April 5th for the next 20 years. And you go outside and you look in the sky, and the exact same stars are in the exact same position every time you go out. Would you assume that you are flying through space in random of those stars, or that those stars are fixed in their position? I guess that's not a great example because they're not moving.
You have to like tell me what process I go through in order to like process observations. Right. So if I'm going to ever reach conclusions, you guys are like jumping right to the conclusion about an observation. Like you need to tell me like, what do I do? What's the premise that I need to say? Like, this is how you go about observation.
Matt?
because like here's the valid question.
I'm not fully following, but go ahead.
So like I'm a language teacher, right? Like I teach foreign language. I say like if you're going to learn a foreign language, like here's a couple of premises that like you need to adopt. Number one, you need to understand that like language is a tool. You're never going to learn it unless you actually use it, right? Number two, you're never going to remember it unless you actually have a need to remember it, right? So like you see I'm like building premises here that these are like ways I go about things, ways I adopt things. I don't want to digress to like how round earth goes about it because like I'm a like born today. I don't know what the earth is look like. I'm trying to get you guys to
I think before observation, like there has to be an intrigue or something has to spark within you that wants to figure something out, right? That's probably number one. Some people don't have that, some people do.
Okay, cool. So what's that premise called? Spark intrigue?
Well, we'll just call it intrigue, I guess. Yeah, mm-hmm. and I think part of the problem is people are fed things before their intrigue can start. Does that make sense?
Okay, so explain to me how that happens. How do I have intrigue if I know nothing, and how do
also, how do you have intrigue if people tell you already know everything, right?
Okay.
So if people are feeding you a preconceived notion that wouldn't have been your notion had you been allowed to go about it naturally, so I think that's an issue, but it's not your question. I'd say
but I think you make a good point here. So there seems to be something that I need to adopt even before intrigue, right?
So hang on. People, especially children, and are curious. Who am I? Where am I? What am I? They want to know everything. So when you're a baby, even before school, a lot of parents park their kids in front of Sesame Street or whatever, and there's astronauts on Sesame Street. It's all globe programming. Then finally, when you're 4 or 5 years old, you go to school, and you're actually excited to go to school because you don't realize what it is at that young age, and you're like, oh my God! And the teacher is a god to you. The teacher is a god. The teacher is going to teach me. So you go there, and what's in the front of the class? A globe, and they show you where you live on a globe, and they're your god. You're not in any position to have another opinion. And if you ask a question, they're just going to tell you, nope, gravity, this is where you live and it spins and this is the axis, and you're just going to soak that in and it's going to become your core belief. And then, so that's how they get you, and it becomes a core belief. Go ahead.
So I think I can point out right here, like that's an appeal to anonymous authority, right? Like and it's also a hasty generalization. Number one, you think that most teachers know how to explain what gravity is. Number two, you think that most teachers
nobody really can explain it, but that's what they teach you. That's what the textbooks, the worksheets, that's what they tell you when you're that young, and they reinforce it again and again and again. It's in every movie, it's in every television show, it's everywhere. Global news networks, there's globes everywhere. They're in every movie. Then there's space movies, and this stuff becomes the core belief system of somebody. When you tell somebody space is fake, it doesn't go over well.
Okay. But again, you're kind of appealing to like this anonymous authority, and you're appealing to like ambiguous process, right? So like you're not really telling me who's the they, and you're also not telling me how the they, whoever this they is,
teachers,
right?
Is actually you're a teacher.
Okay.
You're a teacher.
You're also not telling me like the process by which the they actually gets me to adopt X premise, right? So
I'll tell you right now.
Logical fallacies kind of.
I'll tell you right now. Are you in a public school? Or private school?
I am in public school.
Do you have budgetary constraints?
Of course.
Okay.
I like it.
So the Rockefellers control all of the textbooks for all of the schools. Okay, they decide what goes in those textbooks, or they and the people above them decide what goes in those textbooks. What are you going to let the general public learn? Are you going to let them learn something that will one day challenge your power? Or are you going to let them learn just enough to be a good little corporate slave and believe what they want them to believe? So they create these textbooks that have all this globe propaganda in them, and they sell them below cost. Okay? Therefore, nobody can independently make textbooks and sell them to schools, because the schools will be like, oh, no, we can get these Rockefeller textbooks at 10 cents on the dollar. Okay? Well, and that's how they control the system.
I won't I won't address quite a few of the factual things that are wrong with that, but I will say again, you're appealing to an anonymous authority, just like throwing out the word Rockefeller, and you're also like
that might not be the exact name. But
it's also well, that's the problem, right? Like we have to get specific if we're going to talk about like if you're going to convince me as like as someone who just knows like how to discern logical fallacies, but was born yesterday, and I don't have any like really understanding per se of the world, but I just know how to tell like something that's logically valid versus illogically valid. And the other thing they were doing right there is you were doing the logical fallacy of poisoning the well, right? Saying that like there's somebody who's like behind whatever the other side is, saying that like they're poisoning everyone else around me, right? Like that's not an argument. That's just simply saying like it's a theory of how everyone else is wrong, which isn't actually an argument in and of itself, right?
I think Craig teaches the globe is a fact.
Okay.
And he's never seen the globe for himself. Is that a fact?
But again, what Craig in this particular situation, all I'm doing is narrating logical validity versus logical fallacy right now, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. You're saying you were born today and you have no you don't know what the world is. Well, that's really not what happens now, because kids are born and they're told it's a globe, and teachers teach them that it's a globe. But do the teachers really know it's a globe, or are they just teaching a logical fallacy?
I mean, like if they're I've seen plenty of teachers teach facts through logical fallacy.
Well, hold on. Right? Now, we're talking about the globe. We're taught the globe is a fact. The spinning of the globe is a fact. Wait, hold on. The globe has never been photographed. The motion has never been measured, but we're taught it as facts again and again and again in all levels of school.
Okay.
Why is that?
I was born yesterday. All I'm doing is pointing out if what I'm hearing is logically valid or logically like it's a logical fallacy. And so I guess my question is let's go back to the premise. Let's go back to the premises, right? You guys said that like what I need to like actually, if I'm not going to use the scientific method, right? I'll just like inject that right here. Like if I'm not going to use the scientific method per se, like I need to know what premises that I'm working on to like actually.
Why wouldn't you use the scientific method?
I don't know. You tell me.
I'm happy for people to use the scientific method, especially as it relates to finding curvature on this place we live.
Cool. All right. So like it's safe to say that like I'm allowed to ask questions, then I can actually investigate information. I can observe.
Absolutely.
Like you guys are saying. Sure. I can analyze data that's around me. I can draw conclusions based on both evidence that I find and logically valid connections between those. Is like that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my next question then. What are the 3 best pieces of evidence that the Earth is flat?
We can see too far.
Go.
What's that?
We can see too far. Would you agree that every sphere has a curvature to it? Sure. Right? Of course. Okay. And so there's a curvature calculation for every size sphere. And we're taught as fact that the diameter.
Hold up. You just appealed to authority again.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying we're taught as
fact.
Well,
as if it's going to be logically valid.
All right. So okay, we can see things that are hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
Okay, that says there's no curvature unless the Earth is 100 times the size they say it is.
Okay, what's the math behind that?
The math behind it is The Earth is 24,901 miles around. The curvature for that is 8 inches per mile squared. As you square the miles at times 8 inches. So if you just look at something 100 miles away, there should be 6,600 feet of curvature. But we can see shorelines from shorelines at that distance.
From 100 miles away.
Yeah.
So you just named the fact that how many inches above that can we see? How many inches above that curve should we be able to see using the calculations you just gave me?
Well, just look across Lake Michigan, which is just short of 50 miles, I believe, and you can see Chicago when the tops of the buildings should be behind the curve, but we can see the entire, under the right weather conditions, we can see the entire skyline.
Okay,
so in that case, it's roughly 2,000 feet.
Yeah, 2,000 feet of curvature.
So it's about 2,000 feet of curvature over 50 miles?
Yep.
Your math's wrong. So one of the big things, if you said I can adopt the scientific method, I should be able to test with the math you guys give me, because again, I was born yesterday, right? Your math's wrong.
It's 1,666 feet.
Okay.
How's the math wrong with that?
And what am I allowed to see?
There's a curvature. So if you're standing 6 feet high, there's a curvature of 1,666 feet at 50 miles. So anything that's beyond that will be that far below. Now, if you want to take out your 6 feet, that's 3 miles. Okay, so 3 miles, you can take 3 miles out of that. It still would be blocking almost all of the buildings except the very tallest buildings, but we can see the small buildings. We can see right down to the shoreline under the right conditions.
Yes, and we can see.
We were generalistic.
Standing on the shore, I can see it.
I was just saying, you can see it from water level. Okay, we were generalizing when we said 50 miles. It's a little bit more than 50 miles, so it's going to be more than that 1666 or whatever. Okay. When you take whichever building is the tallest, I believe it's the Sears Tower. I'm not sure. But there's 300 feet. There should be 300 feet between the top of that building and what you're able to see.
Yep.
And you can see it from the water line.
Okay. So what I would have to be able to do is actually go to the shore and test that with you guys, right?
Sure. Correct.
Okay, in order to be able to actually, number one, check those calculations, but then check that the observations that you guys are telling me.
Well, no, you wouldn't. You can't go to the shoreline to check the calculations.
Well, I'm saying I would have to go to the shoreline with the calculations and say okay, this is how much I should be able to see of the tops of whatever tallest buildings are there, and this is how much I actually do see.
Right, or you can watch the hundreds of videos that were made showing what was happening and the views that we have. And the fact that you can see it, and that it's not a mirage, that it's proven that it's not a mirage.
Cool.
Or go out to a place that's near you.
Yeah.
And do your own test.
Awesome. What's the second best piece of evidence that the Earth is flat?
Well, it's tough to get much better than the fact that it's flat. There's no curvature. The defining characteristic of a ball is curvature, and if we prove over and over that there is no curvature, I'm not sure what else, though there are many. The thing about the ball and the flat Earth is when we all have the same evidence. So whether something is evidence for or against, you have these people that are approaching it with a worldview. Unlike yourself in this situation, though you do come with a worldview.
Sure, but I've been pretty fair in just asking the questions, right?
I guess.
I mean, if you can dismiss no curvature, and you need more evidence than that, it's not that there's lots of stuff that shows that the Earth is flat, but there's more stuff that shows we're not on a spinning pressurized ball. Where in science,
saying what are the best pieces of that?
So here's one that debunks the ball. There's nowhere in nature that you can have a high pressure system next to a vacuum without a solid barrier. You can't have a high pressure next to low pressure without a solid barrier. So we have a high pressure atmosphere next to the ultimate vacuum, we're told, of space, a Tor 10, I believe it is, vacuum. And why, if that was the case, all of the air would be sucked into space.
All of it would be sucked into space? There are no other forces acting on that air?
What other forces would you think are acting on the air that could stop a vacuum from taking it into space?
I don't know. I was born yesterday.
Okay.
You tell me.
Well. So let's pretend that there's a magical force called gravity that can hold the air down from the ultimate vacuum of space. Well, I can disprove that with a straw and my lungs, which make a weaker low pressure system, not even a vacuum, just a slightly low pressure system, and I can suck air and water up and away from the magic of gravity. So that proves that gravity or a force is not holding the air down onto the earth.
Okay. So you're okay. So number one, with the lungs, for example, right? How much are you pulling up with the lungs, and how much is gravity pulling down?
Well, I'm saying that the ultimate vacuum of space should pull the air up and away from Earth, but
Why?
It doesn't. Because that's what it does in every scientific experiment. High pressure goes to low pressure. If you have a pressurized can and you poke a hole in it, the air is going to go from high pressure to low pressure.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So high pressure Earth, low pressure space, zero pressure space, and no barrier. Doesn't work. You can't. There's nowhere that you can ever reproduce that in an experiment other than an enclosed system.
But there are no other forces acting on that atmosphere then.
I don't know.
Okay. So if I were able to prove or observe that there were forces acting on the atmosphere, then you would need to account for those, correct?
I mean, buoyancy and density sort things out. That's why helium goes up to the top, and the gases sort themselves out. You know, a little breeze mixes them up.
So there are forces acting on the
buoyancy and density,
even within the atmosphere themselves, right?
Sure.
Okay.
But we're told that the vacuum of space is right there adjacent to our atmosphere.
Okay. And I just asked a simple question: are those the only forces there? And you said I don't know. And so I really can't tell if you can't give me an answer to like what all the forces that are actually there. If I was born yesterday, I just have to say, well, I don't know. He told me this one thing, but he can't answer any other questions about it.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay. It was just like, so you guys gave me two pieces of evidence. So we can see far. There are no high pressure next to low pressure. What's the third best piece of evidence that the Earth is flat?
And I don't know if this is best, but this is another example of how the model that we are taught does not act like the things that we're told. If I may grossly generalize, the fact that the moon...
actually, gross generalizations are a logical fallacy. So no.
All right, Dave, your turn.
The fact that we can see.
I was going to talk about moonlight, but I don't feel like talking anymore.
Yeah, no, your line of arguing is really won't prove anything, but.
That's the fun. That's the fun part about logical fallacies is that they're not trying to prove anything. They're trying to ensure that whatever's being told to someone is logically valid, right?
So we're told that we see stars that are similar to our suns that are billions of miles away. Okay. But if you do, use the inverse square law of light, or just look at, where our sun supposedly is and its size, you'd realize that this is all impossible. For example, we're told that.
So wait a minute, that was a generalization because this is all impossible. Specifically is impossible?
So here's something. Have you ever looked at the full moon on a night where there's some clouds in the sky?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll notice that the moon only lights up the clouds that are right next to the moon.
I have not noticed that.
Okay. Well, next time the full moon's coming, go out and hopefully there's some clouds, scattered clouds throughout the sky, and you'll see that the clouds right next to the moon are the only ones that lit, and all the other ones are pitch black. If the moon was 238,000 miles away, the moonlight would light up all of the clouds. So
you're saying that there's no light hitting any of those other clouds?
No.
How do you know?
Well, because you can't see them; they're in the dark.
So if I can't see it, then I can't. Then it's not there.
So here's the point: the moon is lighting up those clouds so you can see them. right?
So the moon's lighting up the clouds in front of me.
This is our last question. I'm going to just get through it, and then we're going to be done here. So, you're not listening. You have to stop talking. You have to stop talking. No, you're not. You're talking. So if you had a whole bunch of clouds, like hang a whole bunch of cotton balls in a room at a certain level in the air and space them out, and then you get a flashlight and you hold it just a foot over those clouds looking down, it's only going to light up the cotton that is right near it. Okay? Now move it away proportionately, like they say, and the light should light up all of them. But it doesn't.
Should it light up all of them equally?
From that distance, from your point of view to 238,000 miles away, absolutely. But the fact is,
how do I know that? How do I know that it should light them all up? It should light them all up equally.
The fact that it's lighting up just the ones near it tells you that the light is near the clouds.
So, but again, you have to also prove the rest of your analogy too. The fact that it's not no light is hitting the rest of the clouds.
If you can't see them, then they're not lit. Maybe there's some light hitting them. And here's the other thing. Hold on.
That's the point, right?
Well, the point is that you're really coming from it from a point where you don't want to learn anything.
I do. I want to make sure.
So listen carefully. Listen carefully.
I am.
The moon is lighting up those clouds that are right around it brightly. That tells you that it's a that it's a light source that is right near those clouds. Do an experiment where you can light up just the clouds that are next to the light, and with a distant light, and just have it light up a small section of the clouds. You can't do it. You can't do it.
Okay, but again, you kind of have to tell me how much is that being.
So because you said, we're running out of time. I just have one question for you. Okay. What is your number? Forget it being born yesterday. You're an educator, so you have some knowledge. What is your number one reason that you believe you live on a spinning ball?
Because I can go through the scientific method for each and every one of the claims.
That a scientific method isn't a reason. You have to tell me what it is. Tell me one reason that you believe you live on a spinning ball, and saying the word science or physics doesn't count.
The word science or physics doesn't count. Huh, that's really fun.
You can use science and physics, but you just can't use the word science and physics.
The number one reason
that you live on a spinning ball rocketing through space, but I'll just go with spinning ball for now. What is the number one reason that you believe that?
Seasons.
So you've done, so you're able to take a heat lamp and tilt it so you feel a difference in the heat rather than move it farther away. You don't see, here's the thing. You don't understand the flat Earth model. Go to our Facebook page and look up the seasons on a flat Earth. There's a whole bunch of videos on it, and you'll see that seasons make zero sense on a spinning ball.
I've seen them.
All right, but you believe that the slight tilt of the Earth changes the seasons because it spreads out the light, correct?
I believe that explanation explains seasons.
Okay, so why isn't it freezing cold at sunrise in the middle of the summer?
Why isn't it freezing cold?
Yeah, because it's 89-degree tilt rather than just a 34-degree tilt. It's an 89-degree tilt. It's the most severe angle. But when that sun shows itself on the horizon, you can feel the sun blasting on your face. But in December, when the sun is at its highest point, and you look at it at 12 noon, you can't even feel the heat on your face when it's at a much greater angle with more direct light. And as a matter of fact, it's closer to us during that time. That disproves your fallacy of seasons due to a tilt.
If you completely ignore the laws of thermodynamics, yes, it does. But the laws of thermodynamics exist.
Wait, we're told that the tilt is what's causing the seasons. I'm telling you that when the sun is closer to us and at a more direct angle, you can't feel the heat. But when it's farther from us and it's at the most severe angle, you can feel the heat. But you actually have
blows
your seasons away.
You have to qualify what you say with, when you say I can't feel the heat versus I can feel the heat. You have to do that with temperature, right? To actually prove what you're talking about.
You can do it with temperature. Sure, you can do it with just go do it yourself. June 21st and December 21st.
Well, I mean,
you'll see.
I mean, that's the fun part about it.
Craig, it's not. You are what's
Dave,
wrong with our education system.
Well, Dave, call me back when you're done.
All right.
Well, here's the fun thing, guys. Like all I was trying to do is simply say, like, hey, give me you guys' best arguments. I want to see if those arguments are logically valid or if they're a logical fallacy.
Oops, I must have gotten disconnected. Matt, that was the most annoying. He is what is wrong with our education system.
I'll say this, Dave. You just wasted like 30 minutes of my night with that. I was hoping, once I started washing dishes in the sink, I was worried I didn't mute it, but in fact I did. And, I was sitting here eating popcorn, listening to you guys.
Did I do okay?
That one. I mean, it wasn't. He didn't even want to really talk about anything. He just wanted to.
He just wanted to hear his own voice. I mean, that was just horrible. Well,
I'll tell you this.
Hey, let's do some speak pipes.
Welcome back to the Flat Earth Podcast. We apologize for putting you guys through that last session, everybody thank Dave for making that happen.
You know, sometimes. All right, our first speak pipe is from Catherine.
You know, I'm really calling to let you know that I got flat smacked by a 5th grader today. I go into school about once a month, new kids, didn't know them, and the kid wanted to shock me and say, "Did you know the earth was flat?" Didn't expect me to be a flat earther. And I said, "Yes, I know that." And then he went on to ask me all these questions that I felt like I was able to answer. But his biggest question is, and he was very sad about it, is why has the government been lying to us? And maybe you guys have a very valid answer to why the government has been lying to us. So anyway, the kid was absolutely a flat earther. And then the other kids in school were also very intrigued because then they started asking me. Now, however, they were a little disappointed that space is fake. But then again, these are 11-year-olds. So very grateful to respond to let you know that they are learning this in school and debating the flat earth versus a globe earth. And flat earthers were winning. Okay, keep up your good work.
That is awesome. Dave, why don't you give your answer, and then I'll give the biblical answer.
I was going to say the high God, but I guess I'll leave that for you.
Well, okay. There you go.
It's just a total control thing, because if you don't know who you are, where you are, or what you are, you'll believe anything. And if you're lost in space with nowhere to put your feet on the ground, you give away your power. And for a young kid to come to the realization that the people that run this world are actually that evil, it's a pretty tough thing for a kid to deal with. But once he gets over it and takes his power back, it'll be a good thing. Matt?
Absolutely. Great answer. And just to go more specific into what the Bible says, it says you can get to know the invisible attributes of God through the study and appreciation of his creation, including his eternal power. And so if that's the case, if you can get to know God and his characteristics through the creation, of course, there will be an evil agenda to cover that up.
What's this, a Bible show now?
It's now a Bible show.
The other thing is when you go to flat smack somebody and they're a flat earther, has that happened to you yet?
It actually hasn't.
It's such a great thing. It's so great. It's like, whoa! It's the best thing ever. And guess what? This is the year that it's going to happen more than all of the previous years behind.
I will say I was at a homeschool meeting a couple nights ago, and the presentation was over, and I walked to the back of the room, and my father-in-law is talking flat Earth with another person that was there, and I walked to the other side, and my brother-in-law is talking it with someone else, and so I basically got to pick the conversation I inserted myself into. So that was awesome. Excellent. We're all flat earthers up here.
Next on the compound. The next one is from Daniel. Here we go, Daniel.
Real quick, Dave. Last one, I promise. Is Daniel here? People refuse to believe that all these people have lied to us and will continue to lie. They can't handle it. And your elitist argument doesn't hold up. Every other argument you have beats ball earthers ass. I'm serious. You're awesome. But your argument as to why they'd keep this secret doesn't hold up. But I've got one for you, okay? It's national security. Simple as that. You cannot tell the whole world at the end of World War II that they live inside a cage when the whole world needs to be rebuilt at that time. Chaos would reign. First, the religions would all say, hey, see, we told you there's a God. And then next thing you know, they'd all be warring with each other to see whose God it was. No, it's simple as this. Thousands of people would lie about this and would keep this secret to protect the world as we know it. Because of the alternative, chaos would reign. Now, I'm a truther. I believe I want the truth. I think we can handle the truth now, but at the end of the World War II, they couldn't handle the truth. And so once the lie started, they just had to keep going with it. And everybody on board thinks they're doing us a favor. That's your excuse. That's all.
Man, I think you can make a promo out of that one.
Well, this guy left about 15 speak pipes in a row, and I deleted all of them except the last one. Normally, I would delete all of them when you leave multiple speak pipes, but he was so passionate, I was actually scared for my life if I didn't play at least one of them.
I thought the best part was where it was like it was so many thoughts were going through his head. And I actually do like his answer. I think that could be true as well.
Well, it is true as well, but I in my opinion, the number one reason is to keep us not knowing who we are, where we are, what we are. I believe that World War I, before World War I, people knew the Earth was flat. And these wars and all of this division was part of the destruction of the world. So these, shall I say it, Jesuits can take power, take over the world. It's all of that together. If everyone woke up to the flat Earth tomorrow, I don't think it would be crazy like that. I think people would really come together. That's my opinion. Maybe it's naive. Next one. I normally don't. Next one is from Jeffrey. Here we go.
Hello. Since water doesn't bend on a flat Earth, how do tides work? Different places have different tides at different times, so the level of the ocean isn't rising and lowering, I don't think. And I have seen somewhere that it might have something to do with magnets, but surely this would be detectable. Compasses would move when the sun and moon was close. So how do the tides work? Thank you for your time. Goodbye.
Why don't tides work on lakes?
Yeah, if the moon was pulling the waters, they would pull them on a lake. Another thing is a full moon would pull the water away from the shores. You know that the official story is, there's 2 tides a day, but the moon only goes around once a day. When there's a high tide in where the moon is, there's another high tide on the other side of the planet at the same time, the ball planet, and that's because the moon pulls the Earth away from the water on the other side. You know that's the official story?
Wow, that's amazing.
It pulls the water on one side, and then it pulls the Earth, and it leaves the water on the other side, so it bulges out.
I'm glad it leaves me here. Like I don't want
to. The truth is that the moon is not tied to the tides. We're just told it is. In my opinion, and again, we don't know how all of this stuff works, is that the tides are due to electromagnetic forces of the sun and moon system together, and possibly there is the Earth is taking 2 breaths a day in and out, where the waters are going in and out of the polar area.
I love it.
Lots of reports on stuff like that. There are some videos on our Facebook page about the tides. Mr. Thrive and Survive does some good stuff if you want to look it up. But again, these things, what we're told as facts are just speculation. And our last one is from David.
Hey guys, I've listened to every episode of the Flat Earth podcast, and yet I'm still a glober. Dave, you're always asking for globers to give just one proof that they can stand behind. I think there's quite a few, but I'll just give you one for now, and that is that when you look at the sun throughout the course of the day through a solar filter, the angular size stays the same. If the sun were small and local and just disappearing from sight throughout the day because it was getting more distant, you would expect to see the angular size diminish towards the end of the day. Thanks.
So we fully addressed that in our sun fade out video description at the beginning. Would you agree?
I would agree. Both you and I have proved that.
Thinking heliocentrically with a physical sun moving around a flat Earth plane, sure, that would seem, your argument would be a sound one, but that's not how we see the sun and moon. And observations show us that, when I watch the sunrise, it's not over Africa, it's over Montauk. And Montauk's 65 miles away.
And for those of us that don't live near you, we assume that's a city near you.
Montauk is the tip of Long Island, and I'm on the other, I'm in Connecticut. So about 65 miles away, that's where I see the moon and the sun appear when they come. And I'm not seeing them through all of that atmosphere, where they're over Africa. So that's that. We explained it in the first part. Matt, thanks, everybody. We will be back soon.
The first time you word flat, you just scoffed and laughed, thinking that Pythagoras knew better in the past. Yeah. You start to do some research and hit up YouTube, mock Sargent's clues and Eric's 200 proofs. Where's the edge? Show me. Why would they be lying? Come on, man. Well, why's the horizon always rising to your horizon? Yo, I can't explain it all in a verse you take serious. Cause once you're flat smacked, it'll leave you delirious. You don't want to hear this, cognitive dissonance settles in your mad. And that's okay, those are the same feelings I had. You're digging deeper and you don't know what to believe. You're getting pissed off that you've been duped and deceived. Yo, who do we blame? NASA or the elites? Both of them. Or are the darker voices hiding our reality that the Earth's flat, 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 get over it. The Earth's flat, 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 get over it. Earth's flat, 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 get over it. Get over it. Throw on some ODD reality to learn some more. Yep, got you thinking about things that you never thought before. Gravity pushes poles, turns sawdust into balls. What? Then you realize it's a theory and it ain't a proven law. Think density, buoyancy, and electrostatic. It's a complicated concept when you first look at it. Seeing all them pics of Earth through a fisheye lens, cause that's the only way that they can show us that it bends. 70% of Earth's water, which is nothing special. But naturally speaking, water always seeks its level. Then you start to wonder why we can't have world peace when they all play nice with Antarctic treaties. Sure do. You start seeing celebs coming out as flat earthers. So you double check that you just misheard your TV, your phone, or your radio station. Got you wondering why flat earth's taking over the nation. Even this deep inside the rabbit hole, I have my doubts, but at the end of the day, I wanna stand up and shout that the Earth's flat, 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 get over it. The Earth's flat, 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 get over it. Earth's flat, 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 get over it. Get over it.
Thank you for listening to this episode on WLC Radio. We're living in very solemn times. The world is hovering on the brink of disaster. Catastrophic events will soon take place that will bring this age to a close and usher in the next. In His great mercy, Yahushua has revealed through prophecy what the future holds. Revelation 8 foretells a series of events, each one worse than the last, that will devastate the earth. The world's food supplies will be decimated. Famine and its accompanying pestilence will result. The earth's fresh water supplies will also be affected. Revelation 9 reveals that demons will impersonate extraterrestrials. The terror and devastation of this so-called alien invasion will make people desperate for safety at any cost. The freedom to live and worship as the conscience dictates will become a thing of the past. Many lives will be lost during this series of events, and when the mark of the beast is enforced, there will be martyrs. Each event prepares for the next crisis. In one long-last call of mercy to repent, for Yahushua is not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Shortly following the events described in Revelation 8 and 9, the 7 last plagues will be poured out. These plagues and the earlier trumpets will wreak havoc on the earth and cause unprecedented destruction and misery. Isaiah 24 warns, quote, "Behold, Yahuwah maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again." Unquote. For believers, however, there is hope. In describing the end of this age, Yahushua said in Luke 21 verse 28, quote, "When these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh." Unquote. Yes, the end will be traumatic. It's meant to be. Yahuwah wants to save every individual he can, so he allows this final climax to awaken souls. But the gospel of the kingdom of Yah is that, beyond the traumatic events of the near future, an eternity of bliss awaits all who accept Yah's gift of salvation. When Yahushua returns, all who've died trusting in the merits of the crucified and risen Savior will be raised back to life in the first resurrection. Yahushua will then set up Yah's kingdom on earth. He and the redeemed will reign jointly on the earth for the first 1,000 years of eternity. John saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. If you wish to join with the redeemed of all ages, living a life that measures with the life of Yahuwah, make the choice. Accept salvation today. You don't have to get yourself ready. The truth is, you can't. Neither can I. No one can. Come to Him just as you are. Don't wait until you've quit sinning. You're not going to get better through your own efforts. Accept Yahuwah's invitation to become a member of His eternal earthly kingdom. When you accept this precious invitation, Yahuwah will gift you with a brand new heart. In Ezekiel 36, verse 26, He declares, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh." Accepting this priceless gift is the only way for joining His kingdom. Come to Yahuwah just as you are. He's waiting with arms wide open, eager to receive all who come to Him.
If you're enjoying WLC Radio, invite your friends to listen in too. If you know someone interested in last day events or you have a Bible study partner, tell them about our website, worldslastchance.com. You have been listening to WLC Radio. Join us again tomorrow for another truth-filled message on WBCQ at 9330 kHz on the 31 meter band. World's Last Chance Radio, preparing a people for the Saviour's soon return.